Learn how to build a better sign and print shop from a few crusty sign guys who've made more mistakes than they care to admit. Conversations and advice on pricing, sales, marketing, workflow, growth, and more. You're listening to the Better Sign Shop Podcast with your hosts, Peter Kourounis, Michael Riley, and Bryant Gillespie.
Before we jump into the episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, GCI Digital Printing, grand format printer to the trade. GCI is not your average print shop. They pride themselves on providing you a fast, stress-free experience when outsourcing. Their no excuses mindset means no matter the job, they'll have it done every time. No other vendor will go to the lengths that GCI does to ensure you're a satisfied customer. To hear more about their approach to business, hop back into the archives to episode 9, where the guys and I interview owner TJ Bedacht about top-tier customer experience. If you're looking for a high-quality trade printer for banners, mesh, coroplast, and more, TJ and his crew will have your back. For jobs big or small, GCI does them all. Check them out at printgci.com. Hi guys, and welcome to the next edition of the Better Sign Shop podcast. As always, got my co-host, the Sign Shop Yoda, Mr. Pete Kourounis.
Happy to be here. Happy to be back.
That's right. It's been a while. Yeah?
Yeah, I forgot how to do this. I forgot how to use my microphone, forgot how to use my camera, made sure all the settings still worked. You know, I think I got a couple of new cool features where if I go like this, like and I get some really nice fireworks and stuff like that. But nice. I've disabled all of that for today.
Well, I'm sad we're not going to get to see that. I talked with Michael. He is in the middle of a terrible sinus infection, so we're not going to have him today, but we do have a special guest. I'm a little raspy because my daughters like to cough in my face all week, so we'll just have to contend with it. But super excited to be back. For all those listening, there's the fireworks.
There you go.
Love it. Yeah, for all the listeners out there, we did receive all the emails of you guys saying, hey, when is the next episode? We just kind of took a nice little summer break that extended a little past summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great summer for me. You know, I've met some really new people, some new clients, some new sign shop owners around the country. I've had some time to get over, my baseball team not making the playoffs this year. Now I'm into hockey season, so I'm enjoying the start of something new to take up my personal time. But look, it was great to take the summer off. This is a new podcast. We didn't want to leave everybody, but we did want to enjoy our summer here. Probably not going to enjoy next summer because we'll probably be doing a lot more podcasts through the summer. But Brian, what you been working on, man? What you been doing since the last time we spoke?
Too much to recount. I've got a lot of cool things coming out soon that I will share. We've made some updates to our platform, which are really nice. But I don't want to keep our guests waiting too much longer. So, what do you think? Should we dive in?
Well, let's bring them on. Let's get this going.
All right.
Transition.
All right, guys. Welcome back. We have our very special guest, Adam Wold from Creative Sign Designs. I'm sorry. Yep. Adam, it's super nice to have you. This has been many months in the making.
So for sure. Yep.
I want to apologize first and foremost for getting you on, but we're excited to have you here. And
I'm excited. I'm excited to be on the show after a long hiatus, and excited to share with you some of the background that I have and some of the tips and tricks that I can benefit the listeners with.
Yeah. So before we dive into the topic at hand, which is going to be managing and running an efficient art department, why don't you give us a little backstory on you and the company?
Yeah, so my background, I've been in the sign industry for 23 years now. It's pretty much the first job that I got out of high school. My friends and I was kind of around the Fast and the Furious times, if a lot of you can remember that. And me and my friends had some fancy cars, and there was a small speaker shop, and a small guy that had a very small closet that was doing vehicle graphics at the time, and developed a good relationship with him. And he said, "Hey, go to the sign company up the street and learn how to weed and tape vinyl and lay vinyl, and then come back to me and I'll give you a job." I ended up staying at that place for about 5 years, and learned a lot. And that was kind of my first foray into the sign industry. I started without knowing a single thing or even having a clue about how signs are made, or that there was companies that actually did that for a living. And it was a Fast Signs. And I really liked working at that Fast Signs because you get a plethora of different experiences, from production, installation, the customer service aspect of things, design, kind of in that small group setting. So for probably the first 2 years, I just simply laid vinyl and things of that nature. And how I got into the design arena is we had a designer on staff, and that designer was probably sick of me doing the same thing, but I was also sick of waiting on that designer to do recuts for vinyl and things like that. And so I was like, "Hey, I'm pretty tech savvy. Technology is kind of a passion of mine. Why don't you sit down with me and show me how you're doing it?" Right. And we had a separate machine, and he showed me how to do the recuts of the vinyl. And that's kind of just where I started in the industry as far as design is concerned. I took a passion to that, learning how to do the recuts, and then I was doing my own design work. And before you know it, within 3 years, I was a designer for that particular center. And then from there, I kind of branched out and did a plethora of different things, just kind of exploring the industry within that particular franchise. I did some customer service work, some outside sales, and was trying to identify like what would be my career path here. Sales definitely was not it. I could tell you that right now. And did a number of years as a project manager. I'm sorry, as a production manager at a small franchise. And realizing that there was only so far you could go at a franchise, and moved on to my first commercial sign shop. It was a local commercial sign shop that did national accounts, and that is what really kind of opened my eyes to what a sign company could be. Things like panform faces. They had a panform face oven. Giant paint booths. People actually physically manufacturing and building the signs from angle and tube and things like that. My background when I started working there, I was just kind of a lowly vinyl applicator. And those of you that have worked in that franchise world know that the turn times are much more aggressive than more of a commercial sign shop. So, I was running laps around everybody in the vinyl shop and literally getting all the work done for the whole day for vinyl by noon. And had the opportunity from that point forward, kind of twiddling my thumbs for the rest of the day, to experience things like going out on installs and doing service work and things like that. But ultimately, it kind of got to a point where that company just couldn't keep me busy in the way that I wanted to be busy. And I went off and joined a company in a design role, doing rebranding for petroleum gas stations.
Okay.
And this is really where I started to kind of really understand efficiency as far as design is concerned, and how to kind of better your workflow day to day. Whenever I first started working there, a majority of petroleum gas station work are components based. Meaning you kind of have a brand standard, and you're going to have multiple different sizes of different signs or different graphics depending on the existing site conditions or even the new build site conditions. But for the most part, your parts are kind of interchangeable. Maybe the only thing that might change is maybe the width, the linear length, or something along those lines. And so whenever I first started working there, we had a 2-person design team, and it would take us anywhere between 6 to 8 hours to design a petroleum gas station start to finish. And what I mean by that, it would be the pylon signs, all the canopy graphics, all of the pump graphics, any sort of pop graphics that might be around the area, and those types of things. We would develop that from scratch. And I worked there for about 6 years. And by the end of by the time, what we would do during that time period is every time we would do a one-off, we would save it as a template. So a unique pump, a unique gas canopy size, a unique pylon sign, things like that. We would save it as a template, and there'd be chances that we may never use it again. But that one-off chance that we did use it again, we've already done the design work, right? We can essentially just kind of pull it, verify that the information's correct, and put it in our drawing, and we're kind of done. So by the time that I left there 6 years later, we could turn full sites worth of design work within 30 minutes to an hour.
Oh, wow. So
So
you cut
it was
in more than half. So it was like
correct.
8 hours to
Yes.
start with, and down to like 30 minutes or less.
Correct.
Nice.
Correct. Obviously, all of that's pending on good survey information and things like that, and assuming that the information is correct. So that particular business, much like a lot of national account businesses, kind of put all their eggs in one basket or a couple baskets, and had a couple accounts go south on them. And basically, I saw kind of the writing on the wall that this company isn't going to survive in the way that I felt comfortable sticking around. And eventually, that business ended up kind of closing, and I moved on to Creative Sign Designs. I've been with Creative Sign Designs for 11 years. I started as a project coordinator at the time, and which was essentially kind of a beginner project manager. And quickly, within the first 2 years, moved into a leadership role, and I managed our project management team. And from there, I moved into managing our project management team and our estimating team. And basically, for the last 6 years, I have been managing our design team at the organization. My background has been in design. My passion's kind of been in design. I've always kind of wanted to be in this position. And 6 years ago, there was a need. At the time, I was actually managing estimating and design. And those of you that kind of work in the industry kind of understand how those two can really kind of collaborate and produce something rather efficient if they're communicating and collaborating on a daily basis. So that was kind of the thought process there. And then we just grew in a way that I couldn't handle the estimating team myself. And I had some growth ideas for the design team. And in 2018, we developed an environmental graphic design studio within our organization also, which is basically our fee-for-service business. So you're a developer, you're an end user, you don't really know what you want. All you simply have is marketing and branding ideas, some architectural renderings of your building, your interior design renderings, and we will basically come up with everything for you start to finish, both interior and exterior graphics, all the location planning, message scheduling, and some ancillary items, things like master sign plans, retail tenant criteria, and things like that. Creative Sign Designs, we are on track to do roughly $28 million this year. We do our primary business is architectural, custom interior and exterior signage.
Gotcha.
What sets us apart is we're a turnkey organization. A lot of larger companies either do exterior signs or interior signs, and we do it all. We manufacture in-house. We manufacture all of our own interior signs in-house, and we do the vast majority of all of our design work as well.
Wow. The quintessential one-stop shop.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I think it's a lot more than that. So let's kind of hit pause on that. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Adam, for giving us that really nice introduction here into the eyes of what our listeners are listening to here is what Creative Designs is all about. I want to get into your role though for a little bit. You said okay, so you're well-rounded, started as a vinyl applicator, you know that business, that side. Mm-hmm. You're not a business owner, but
correct.
I want to first ask this question, and then I want you to kind of get into it a little bit. But why, with so much experience, with so much experience in multiple different departments, you've mentioned it just before: estimating, design, project management. I'm sure you can handle all departments. Why not get into owning your own place?
The ownership team at Creative Sign Designs allows me to develop my personal skill sets and the skill sets of the people on my team, and allows me to develop processes and procedures outside of just not only my design team, but across the rest of the organization. Will help financially back that if I want to play a little bit, for lack of a better term, and experiment a little bit. Jamie Harden is the owner of our company, and his lovely wife Melanie is our vice president of human resources, and they both allow me, with the great relationship that we've developed over the past 11 years and some of the successes that we've seen together, to develop different aspects of the business and create processes and procedures that help things run efficiently and things of that nature. And that's provided comfort for me from an income standpoint and from a job safety standpoint. And that's what's important to me and my family. You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds like, you know, you're comfortable putting on your director hat, your manager
Yep.
hat, having a voice, and really being able to collaborate with such a wonderful ownership team that allow you the freedom to kind of branch off and explore other opportunities, which, you know, as an owner, you might not actually have those benefits, right? You
Correct.
might not get those times to play around in a sandbox and explore different things, new technologies, and we'll get into that here in the future. So, but I want to bring us back here for a moment. Now that we kind of have a little bit of a baseline to what you do, you mentioned your team. I want to kind of talk about your team here for a quick second. I'm very interested as a graphic designer, and Brian as well. We love design, right?
Recovering designer.
Recovering designer. We're a recovering designer. Yeah.
Sure.
One might say that this is the foundational brick that this entire industry is built upon.
Sure.
You know, there is sales, there's customer service, right? There's the survey, there's the production, the fabrication, the install, the service, etc. But all of this is built on the foundation of design, right? That's the element that you can build a business off of. If you remove that, you know, it's like a house of cards. Everything kind of falls around it, right? So I want to talk about your team. We're all interested in design here. Tell me a little bit about your team. How many members are there? Give me a lay of the land of how many designs you guys pump out. For $28 million, I'm expecting that number to be quite high. So go ahead and take it from there.
So we have 7 people on our what I would consider kind of our architectural design team. That is kind of our day-to-day queued design process for various different projects. It could be bid spec work. It could be design build work from scratch. It could be national account work. And then we have 2 designers on our environmental graphic design studio, and those are the more consultative design professionals. Those are the people that are consulting and interacting with clients directly on a daily basis, interacting with municipalities to find out what's possible and things like that. Our EGD team would probably do anywhere roughly 50 projects a year, start to finish. But on our architectural side of things, we are on track this year to, and Brian, I know when we talked about this last time, I gave you some data from last year, but we are on track to do over 5,700 design requests. And what I mean by a design request is it could be something as simple as a 5-minute revision, but it could be something as elaborate. And I have a couple people on my team right now working on projects that they've been working on for 2 straight months, right? Just because the scale at which that we're the scale at which the projects we're doing right now, the complexity, the coordination with our senior project management team, the coordination with our estimating team requires that much detail to be put on the on the drawings to be able to be successful with the installation team and or when we're shipping it out to an end user.
So you said over 5,000? Is that what you said?
Actually, he said 5,700, over 5,700.
Over 5,700. Okay, I'm going to do the calculations here.
I'm trying to do the calculations, and it's not computing yet.
814 design requests per designer. You have 7 designers.
Yep.
5,700 requests.
Correct.
Over 800.
Yep.
That's a pretty prolific, efficient.
Yeah, let's break that down. Let's break that down even more. What is that breaking down per day?
So
on average per
if
design.
you figure what is it, like 251 working days a year, right?
Bear with me. I'm gonna pull up some statistics. I can't give you necessarily broken down by day, but the way that we the process associated with how we design things is we use an architectural design nomenclature. So we'll do schematic / conceptual designs, and then we will move into design development, and then we'll move into fabrication level drawings. Between those different larger kind of phases, we have customer revisions and things along those lines. But just to kind of put some items into perspective for you, let me just and I apologize, I didn't know we were going to get too far into the numbers, but I do have the numbers, which is a little bit odd for a more creative person to have. So bear with me for just a second.
That's true.
That's fine. While you're pulling that up, I'm fascinated with 5,700 requests. I mean, I understand what that means. That's new requests, that's revisions, that's
it is.
That there's two different avenues for that, right? So
Sure.
I'd like to know if you have, and just for our viewers and our listeners out there to give a little bit of a context here, 7 designers, right? I mean, not a lot of our shops have or owners have 7 designers, let alone 2 designers.
Correct.
You have some that are allocated to certain specific types of designs, and then you have others that maybe handle a wider range gambit of design requests. Right now, walk me through that for a second before we get into the number per day, which to me kind of sounds like you're doing like 3 or 4 requests per day per designer. At least that's what it sounds like to me.
At a minimum, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So without really getting into the numbers, I mean, let's agree it's like 4 design requests per designer per day. So that's, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's crazy a lot. All right. That's like uber crazy to me. Okay. Mm-hmm. So seeing a business like yours and having that department handle that kind of bandwidth, I want to first ask you a little bit more detail about your team and their talents. So are you hiring the type of designer that's experienced? Are they designed? Like, do you have wrap specialists? Do you have architectural specialists? Do you have graphic designers straight out of college, high school? Tell me a little bit about your recruiting.
Great question, Pete.
Tell me a little bit about your recruiting. Tell me about how you hire. Tell me about the type of person you look for. Go.
Yeah. So I primarily hire people with a large amount of architectural design experience, specifically sign design experience. I have been lucky in the sense that there's enough candidates available to the market that I haven't had to train somebody that's new. Most of the people that I hire have this architectural signage design background, meaning they either come from a background where they've designed, smaller or large scale ADA interior sign packages, but have a basic understanding, number one, of CorelDRAW, which is the primary software that we use. Number two, understand basic things like ADA code requirements, building code requirements, and just a very general understanding of wayfinding theory in general. So how to navigate a place and how to think about how to navigate a place and put that on a sign. The other side of it is people with this long-standing knowledge of how to build a sign and have been in the industry for quite some time, working in various different areas. Maybe they came from a fabricator at one point and had a desire to move into design, and so they kind of already have this manufacturing background and they're able to apply that on paper. I have, the age span of the people on my team ranges from, lower 20s up into, I have somebody that's in their mid 60s, but their backgrounds range from having, different backgrounds. But I'm not hiring at this point in time people who do not have those experience. I have enough people kind of in the bandwidth and in the hopper to hire people with the experience needed to go down that route. And as far as recruiting is concerned, I do almost all of my own recruiting myself. It's a combination of, finding resumes and people that are interested in Indeed, and just literally simply asking people. What I do is I go on LinkedIn and I find the people that have the background requirements of what I'm looking for. And sometimes they're available to the industry and sometimes they're not. But worst case scenario, they can say no. Best case scenario, they're interested in talking, and we kind of go from there.
Quick follow-up for me really quick, just on the type of candidate, type of designer. Are you doing any outsourcing remote designers in your business?
We do not currently. We entertain that from time to time. We are in this transitionary period from an organization. When you kind of get to this scale, really the next step is to start developing more of a design engineering team who's kind of on the back end in that production area. And those people are really using things like AutoCAD and SolidWorks and things like that. It's kind of going beyond just the general limitations of CorelDRAW. Those pieces of software. So At some point in the future, we're going to shift in that direction. Once we get to that, from an efficiency standpoint, there's a lot of efficiencies as far as fabrication is concerned. But when you start going down those paths of AutoCAD and SolidWorks, the efficiency from a design standpoint starts to trail off a little bit, because something that you could put together in a matter of a couple hours in CorelDRAW could take you a week or two to put together in SolidWorks. And now your fabricators are going to love you because they have cut sizes, they have all the angle, they have a full bill of materials and things like that. But we have to churn and burn with the volume of work that we do right now.
Well, I love it that you are a CorelDRAW firm. That's right. Everybody that's listening, that's viewing out there, that has watched my video on CorelDRAW versus Illustrator versus Photoshop, whatever you want to do, it may not work for you, but this software is very powerful for the type of shop that you may want to become when it comes to sign design. It's a software that I believe in. I design everything in CorelDRAW, so I could apply for a position with your firm and jump right in to your environment and not skip a beat. So
if he would have you, Pete, if he would have you.
If you would graciously accept my resume, yes, I'd be your 8th designer.
Mike's a CorelDRAW guy too, and unfortunately, Adam he couldn't make it today because he's got a terrible sinus infection.
That's fine.
I think one of the things that stood out to me of what you just said, and like, how many times have you heard this, Pete? It's hard to find good people. I can't find good people to work in my shop.
Every Tuesday and Thursday. Pretty much
Tuesday and Thursday.
Every Tuesday and Thursday. Yes, approximately at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to those people personally is, you're not looking for them. You're waiting for them to come to you.
That was going to be my point exactly.
Right.
I just heard you say you're going out and hunting these people.
Yeah, I don't put an ad. I don't put an ad out or anything like that. I go and I prospect the exact person based on their background that I want, and then I go from there. And that's what I tell everybody. Person. I am hunting after that person.
Wow.
I am finding the skill set that I need on my team, and then I go after that person.
That's a very unique approach. Definitely something that a lot of our viewers and listeners here can take away from. If you're a shop that you're looking for a graphic designer, if you just fired a graphic designer and you need somebody to replace that person, it's so easy to get sucked into the remote designer, outsourcing your work. It's so easy to go down that rabbit hole, but you need somebody in your shop. You need a player. You need a voice. You need somebody that can be your guiding light in this business that we call the sign industry. And there might be a different way about going after that person. And just like you said here, Adam, it's more of a I want you approach. You're the type of person that I want working for me. Instead of putting an ad out and fielding and farming resumes, you're going after a specific type of person based off. I'm assuming you're using LinkedIn for something like this.
Yeah, it's between LinkedIn and there's a pay tier of Indeed, where you can be quite a bit more specific about your search criteria. And then once I find the person's name, I do some research on LinkedIn, and I typically reach out to them on LinkedIn instead. And that's kind of my process. And it's worth the very minimal cost for Indeed to at least explore it for a month and see what kind of net benefit you get from being more aggressive and trying to reach out to those people that you want on your team, rather than put out an ad and field a bunch of people that may never actually be qualified to do the job.
All right. Well, that's a huge takeaway for our listeners. So, Brian, go ahead.
What's the average turnover for you in your art department?
It's pretty low. I am going through. I have one person leaving me right now, but as far as across the organization, it is probably the lowest turnover outside of our current sales team.
Good.
Amazing. Low turnover, a very specific type of hunting recruiting strategy for a $28 million operation that has a 7 soon to be 8 designers on their team. Amazing. So tell me a little bit more about your processes. All right, let's dive into that side of this coin here a little bit. Tell our listeners how inquiries come in. Walk us through your workflow. You were involved in the sales side, and I'm sure you understand how that side of that coin works. So kind of walk us through the beginning and the front end of your workflow for your business or your.
Yeah. So the way our current company works is it kind of depends on the type of business that we're getting in at any given moment in time. Where I'll kind of lead the conversation is more on our design build. So our customer doesn't really have anything, right? They might have some brand assets. They might have some architectural renderings of a building. They might have some existing photos of a building or existing photos of some signs that they might want to revamp. We have a fairly elaborate process, but it's lean at the same time, because if it's too elaborate, people aren't going to follow it, right? And a lot of the processes and procedures that I'm going to describe to you today don't work without buy-in from the whole organization, right? I can't just be creating and developing design team processes without interaction from the other departments that have to interact with that team, right? So a lot of what I'm going to describe to you has been thoroughly discussed with our director of sales, our director of project management, our production teams, and even installation teams to develop a process that we feel like works best for our organization. So as far as going through the process, we from start to finish, we use smart sheets for a queuing system. And I have developed a simple way to queue our tasks for the entire team. It also lets me develop metrics for individuals and by different phases that I described earlier on in our conversation. But essentially, our account management team and our project management team have a digital form that they can fill out. And as they submit that digital form, it basically goes into our design team's queue. Some different criteria that are on those forms is, the customer name, the address, a very brief description of the scope of work, because that's not really where we're describing what the designer needs to do, the value potential of the project or a budget that might be in mind for that particular project. And then we have the account manager involved, and then who might request, because it could be an account manager or it could be a project manager that's requesting that particular design task to be done. So I guess people are asking, well, why do you need all that information? Well, so this is where some of the automation as far as the smart sheet comes into play. So basically, as a designer, as a task is assigned to you, you'll get a notification via email, and you'll also be in the queue day to day, and you could sort by your particular job. And you also get updates. If I decide to change the date or there's updated information, you'll get a notification regarding what information changed during that time period. But also on the back end, as we complete that particular task, anybody that is in that requested field on that smart sheet will then be notified that the job is completed also. So, and it's all real time too. Any questions on that so far?
No, I like smart sheets. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah,
I haven't dove into it very deeply, but I know some people who have.
Yeah, I mean, we decided on smart sheets as an asset because it creates a lot of flexibility for us to do what we want to do, right?
Gotcha. Now, does the whole organization use smart sheet as well, or just your department?
As of right now, our project management team, our permitting team, and our production team all use smart sheets currently. We are in the process of looking at some other solutions, but that is what we all currently use. And it's primarily just because of the customizability. We are a very report-driven organization, very metric-driven organization, and allows us to do all that stuff in an automated way on the back end. So, like I said, I can break down the quantity of those different design requests by individual design phase, and then break that down by individual designer by design phase also. I just set that all up at the beginning, and now it just kind of does the work for me in the background. So that's kind of the initial kind of request process. Now, this is where, from an organization standpoint, we start to get into, and a lot of people can kind of relate to this, is, okay, well, how do you manage the quality of the information that's coming in, right? I think it's very important for anybody in the role that I have at an organization, or even smaller organizations that just have an individual designer, to review the information as it's coming in, right? So I am reviewing every single design request as it comes in. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set that designer up for success when they actually get to it. So there's various different things that I'm doing. I am reviewing the quality of the request and making sure it makes sense, right? Because what good is a design request if you can't even understand what you're supposed to do there, right? And what I'll do is I will connect with the person that requested it, get clarification, and either have them rewrite the design request so that it does make sense, or I will rewrite it in a way that I feel like is going to make the most sense to my designer, right? I'm also reviewing any assets that might be submitted during that design request, pieces of artwork, making sure that if there's custom fonts that might need to be used, that I'm downloading them, or at least providing a description of where that designer might be able to access them via Adobe Fonts or one of those types of things. And then if it does happen to need vector artwork, we handle that a multitude of different ways. If it's something rather simple, we'll recreate it ourselves. If it's a more corporate brand and I know that they probably have the logo somewhere, I'll kind of push back on the requester to go get the actual vector artwork. And then if it's something elaborate and our customer just can't do anything with it, and I feel like it's going to take our team, anywhere between an hour or 2 hours to recreate, I basically outsource the vectorization. I like to think of my design team in the same way a lot of sales teams think of their salespeople, as what can they generate per revenue hour. And if I think of a designer that could produce $5 million worth of designs in 1 year, that's an X amount of value per hour to me. And if our client isn't paying that amount to do that vectorization, then it's better off that a vectorization company does it for the minimal cost that they can do it for. So
don't tie up your team on stuff that's not
right. So once I've basically identified that the information is either of a quality nature or provided assets required to successfully do that, I will then go ahead and schedule it. And I aggressively schedule my team. I push them every single day. Obviously, with the volume of work that we do, I have to. And a lot of what you have to do is you have to learn your strengths and weaknesses of the people on your team. What are they good at? What are they quick at? And then assign the work according to that, right? So like for the most part, I can schedule my team within the hour kind of thing. So if I have a designer that I'm like, okay, I think this particular job is going to take them roughly 6 hours. They're working 8 hours a day. There's 2 other jobs that I know I can squeeze in that are going to take them anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. I'm going to go ahead and schedule those jobs for that same day, right? So that's how we start to be very aggressive with our turn times too. The vast majority of our work is turned around within two business days from a design standpoint. There's obviously different circumstances where the project is larger, but across the different phases of design that we do, we turn most jobs around within 2 days. And that could be a fabrication level drawing, a conceptual drawing, or what might be. So as a designer, as you're getting that notification and now you're starting to work, how do you work efficiently when you get that information? Well, we've created a lot of assets as an organization. We do, like I said, we do interior and exterior signage. We have developed a lot of sales tools that also help the estimating process, because a lot of what we find is a lot of the time, while customers are very involved in what their signage looks like, people just want to get to a number so they know how much they're going to have to spend, right? So
agreed, yeah.
So we've developed a lot of assets and tools to help get to that number, and it's in the form of basically templates. So we have interior signage templates. It might not be exactly what the client wants, but we've done enough interior sign jobs to be able to develop some full design packages of all the sign types that might be required for different market segments, and they have materials, sizes on them, things like that. So our sales team could sell that number. And then what it does is it puts guardrails from a design standpoint on the types of materials, the sizes, things like that they have to design within, right? So that's one of the tools that we use to help kind of the sales process be a little bit more efficient, and then provide us essentially kind of an outline scope of work as far as materials and sizes that we can design within. And then just collective creative assets. Everybody's been in that scenario where you're kind of burnt out and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do one more option for this, and I just can't think of anything, right? What we do, or what we try and do, is we try and collect assets that weren't used in the past. So for the most part, most of our conceptual designs, schematic designs we do 3 options. One selected, and then those other 2 just kind of go by the wayside, right? So what we try and do is we try and collect those options and potentially utilize them on other jobs that might be applicable, and using different finishes and things like that. We also have a lot of inspirational assets for interior signs, exterior signs, and things like that to help inspire the design team to create something unique based on what other other inspirational images, things like that.
I like the fact that you are like constraining the design process, because it really, like, when I look at design, like, that's a challenge in signage. Is it like you're only limited to what you can build, basically,
right?
And unless you like, design is like, it works best when you're constrained to something. So like when I was in the print shop, like designing a t-shirt take me like 20 minutes
Right.
because it's like, hey, I've got a 10 by 14 area and it's got to be 1 to 8 colors, right? But
Hmm.
with signage, and especially the type of work that you guys do, where it's everything interior, everything exterior, like there's a lot of decisions that have to be made there just
There really
for
does.
every sign.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, essentially, what I'm trying to do from managing the team is I'm trying to take the scenario where a designer is sitting there trying to figure out what they need to design and they can actually spend the time designing it, right? So they have all the assets, they have all the inspirational imagery or interior design, mood boards, finishes, things like that that they need to be able to just go in and start designing rather than sitting there and really trying to figure out what they need to design to begin with. And that's kind of been my motivator of developing a more efficient team by reviewing those documents ahead of time to prepare them for success and knowing that they can open up the design request, all the assets are going to be exactly what they're expecting, and they can just move right into design.
Gotcha. Now, like some of these templates that you've developed, like are
Mhm.
you including that when you schedule that request, or they're like going and hunting that down? Like,
We basically have it as a global template that everybody kind of knows about. Our sales team is
I
using it when
gotcha.
they're doing their count takeoffs on the very front end of the project, and then our design team will essentially know that it's the available asset that was used during that time period and to design within those constraints, right?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. So, like, what does or what's the day to day look like for you guys within the department? Like, is it?
I mean, it's pretty chaotic, as you can
Okay,
imagine.
okay.
It is lots of manipulating the schedule. I am in the schedule all day, every single day. And I basically have some conditional formatting that allows me to visualize things as they come in. And depending on the scale of what the request is, as of right now, and really kind of since March, I've been basically designing all day, every single day, just because of the volume of work we have going on. But if if it's something rather simple and I can keep the rest of my designers out of it and have them working on the more elaborate, longer scale, longer term projects, then I'm going to do it myself. So as that information comes in, I'm immediately reviewing it. If the assets or the information isn't clear, I'm immediately getting with the person that requested it so I can attack it right away, right? We attack our design queue on a daily basis. And, if you spoke to the people on my team, sometimes, it's a little overwhelming for them, but they do a great job of staying ahead. And in my opinion, from a creative standpoint, if you can stay ahead and you don't have this burden of just this backlog of design work to do, you can be your most creative and produce the best quality product. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. One question I've got that's came up a lot for our folks that they do everything like you guys do.
Hmm.
How are you juggling like this request is going to take 20 minutes and I've got
Yeah.
12 of those that need to go out in the next 6 hours versus
Yep.
like, hey, this project is a longer project that's going to take a couple weeks to get all the assets, but we've got to
Hmm.
make progress on it every single day to make sure that we hit the timelines.
I think it's obviously this is where kind of manipulating the schedule and having a team that is on board with potentially doing other people's work. I think in a perfect world, everybody wants to be able to start their same project and finish it also. But you can imagine with the volume of work and the complexity of custom signage that's just not the way that the real life, the real world works. So, I have a particular designer right now that's been working on a 2 month long project and is essentially kind of just on call, for lack of a better term,
I
waiting for
gotcha.
information from the field to be able to attack because we have a very tight schedule to get the job done. So I can't put her on any large project right now. So she just basically fills in smaller things from time to time, quick revisions, quick schematic designs and things like that as she's kind of waiting on that larger piece of information. And I've essentially kind of cleared her schedule, and any projects that I would normally have her work on, I've basically either delegated to the rest of the team or I'll knock them out myself, depending on the complexity of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So well, you guys have 7 designers, but
We do.
essentially like the sixth man on a basketball
Correct.
team or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's smart.
Hmm.
What do you have any other like tips and tricks that you would like what would your advice be to somebody who maybe has 1 or 2 or 3 designers? They've got a small design team, which is
I,
That's probably the average.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that developing assets ahead of time is one of the key differentiators for our particular team to be able to be successful and efficient, right? So we have developed design manufacturing standards for a lot of the common side types that a lot of people are using in architectural signage. You know, your flat cutout letters, what are our tolerances? What kind of thicknesses? What kind of studs are we going to put in different thicknesses and things like that? Channel letters, pylon signs, monument signs. Having a standard to start with, in my opinion, is the best way to manage the fabrication level drawing process, which tends to take a little bit longer than some of the other processes are concerned. And having buy-in from your manufacturing team, or in the cases where you might be outsourcing fabrication, developing and coordinating with them. And I promise you, your wholesale customers or your wholesale manufacturers are going to be interested in that, because they're the net result of what you're producing, right? So if they have their own section views and things like that that you could be borrowing from them to include in your drawings, it's only going to make their shop more efficient also, right? The other thing also is communication across the whole organization. Like I said, none of the processes and procedures that I'm describing to you today work unless you have buy-in from the sales team, the account management team, or even if it's not a team, if it's just a salesperson in general. You know, developing a good workflow between design and sales is a key part of your process and the growth and development of your sales team and the growth and development of your design team. Your design team understands why the types of assets that a sales team needs to be successful from a sales standpoint, then it's kind of perfect harmony from an efficiency standpoint. And then on the back end, if your production team is collaborating, providing feedback on specifications that we're including or not including, and can help us fill in that gap and create a better standard, so that we don't either keep making the same mistake or we're creating a more streamlined design environment, then it's beneficial for everybody as well. And then the other thing that I would say is one other differentiator for us is, Jamie and Melanie have allowed our design team to purchase things like stock photo subscriptions and things like that. And those are just kind of the spicier ways to enhance and embellish, your kind of basic boring interior sign project that most people are just doing kind of one color backgrounds, one color tactile copy on. We have the ability to go in and out of these stock photo websites and get textures and different stock vector artwork and things like that, and apply them to our designs to really embellish them. And I've created a couple assets to really show our design team how, here's how we were doing things in the past with just kind of basic solid colors, and here's how you can really transform a design using some of these very basic embellishments that we are able to pull from these different assets that we have unlimited access to.
Nice.
Yep.
I think we actually had, what was it communication breakdown, Pete? Like one of those episodes that we had, like the biggest drop is usually the handoff between departments, and it seems like you guys have mastered it. Like, what are the specific things that you guys are doing to facilitate that communication across departments?
So we do a number of different things. Number one, I basically coach my team that regardless of how simplistic the design request that's been written to you is, I want you to call the person and verify that that's exactly what they want, right? So that helps break down some of the initial assumptions, regardless of how simple it is. And we are talking on a regular basis with the people that are requesting these designs. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but the vast majority of our design team is remote. And so we are interacting with our sales team and our project management team, through Teams calls and on a regular basis. I mean, I make 40 or 50 calls a day to people to get clarification, just make sure I'm on the right track from a design standpoint, because we are reading and interpreting something that's, something that somebody else wrote, right? And it could be something as simple, I had a conversation on just a very basic 18-inch by 24-inch aluminum sign on a post and panel sign this morning. And I was like, are you sure this is how you want this to look? And I could share my screen and get feedback in real time from that particular person, and got the confirmation that yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now I can close out the design request and send them the proof, and I'm done, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is when we get into some of the larger projects or some of the more complex projects, we have a project kickoff meeting. And that's where we have an opportunity for our project management team or a project manager that's been assigned to the project representatives from the production facility that might be involved in the manufacturing of that, the estimator that estimated the project, and then an assigned designer to basically sit down together and say, how do we want to accomplish this, right? And it could be in the form of, here are the value engineered options that were offered during the estimating period, or here are some technical difficulties that we might experience during this process, and we need to work together to develop solutions to make this actually successful. And we've started to do that quite a bit more on the vast majority of our larger projects, and we've seen a lot of success. It gives production an opportunity to communicate how they might want to build something that might be different than how a designer might want to build something, so they get a say in the process. And then furthermore, it's creating buy-in when that job actually hits the shop floor. They're not blindsided by some wild manufacturing method that they've never heard about before, right? It also gives an opportunity to identify materials and or manufacturing methods that we want to proceed with, but we don't have the capabilities internally to do, and decide where we want that capability to go to from an outplant standpoint to outsource that particular manufacturing method. So I think those two areas for us are one of the key parts of trying to prevent miscommunication. But I would say just the key takeaway in general is just the collaboration of the person that might be requesting that. And in those cases where you don't have that kind of buffer zone of somebody requesting that, getting on a Teams call or a Zoom meeting with the client and just saying, hey, look, I want to make sure that we're on the same page, or just a simple email of like a screenshot of the proof or whatever, just to make sure you're on the right path with the client before you kind of finish that thing.
Yeah, I think you might have mentioned the remote thing to me previously. Yeah. I forgot to include that in my notes, but is that part of the reason why you can like go out and hunt these specific people as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. So, like I said, Melanie and Jamie have been very trusting in my methodology as far as recruiting is concerned. We've had a lot of success with it. And while where I live, which is in the Tampa market, the Tampa, Florida area, there is a ton of sign shops. I think the last time we looked, it's probably well over 200 sign shops. There's a plethora of different people to choose from, but not with the very niche type of business that we're involved with right now. You know what I mean? I can find, a plethora of different people to do, vehicle wraps and things like that. But it starts to get a little bit nichier when you need somebody to build a monument sign from scratch in Corel.
Sure, absolutely.
Yep.
So as we try to bring this one to an end, and I feel like we could probably talk for hours, man.
Oh, for sure.
Just like a fountain of knowledge about the industry. But like I've been watching AI over like the last 6 months, and like things are like starting to go at a way faster rate than what I thought they were. Are you guys leveraging any like AI day to day or anything like that? Do you have plans to like? What are your thoughts on it?
So I mean, for the first time with some of these new features, and I was on the beta for Photoshop and Illustrator where they started to integrate some of the generative AI. I found like actual useful purposes for the AI, and that is essentially, when you're doing like wall graphics or something like that, and your client is providing you like kind of a low resolution JPEG, and you want to blow that up to the best of your ability. Number one, to try and create a vector version of that to clean it up a little bit, but to just kind of fill in that gap of area that you're trying to fill in, right? And also when you're trying to edit photos and things like that, and you're trying to get very complex objects out of it, I've found the generative AI tools to be absolutely mind-blowing for their ability to do stuff like that. And I know Illustrator has just started to dabble in it, and I haven't personally had any useful success with it, but Illustrator has come a long way from some of the initial betas, even when they had kind of some of the initial measuring tools and things like that. So I'm confident that at some point they'll have some real practical uses for it. But currently, I haven't found a particular practical use as far as AI, at least in what we're doing currently.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Like, hey, what are your thoughts? Just like being a student of design and like a lifelong lover of design. Like, do you have concerns on AI? Like,
I don't. I think if we were probably more in the graphics world and things like that, and a good chunk of our business was more in kind of that printed graphics world, I might be a little bit more concerned, just more from a design standpoint. But with the complexity of things, I mean, I would welcome some AI tools to be able to develop the ability to, space out angle in a monument sign and stuff like that. Like, just I want that right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So until it gets to that point, or like, you get some of the bigger companies like, or you get like a bigger company like AutoCAD or SolidWorks, one of those companies starting to integrate some of that into what they're doing. So you're not having to build some of that stuff from scratch. Then we'll probably take a harder look at it.
Yeah. Yep. That kind of lines up with my thought. Like, you guys are like so far on the like specific like niche scale that it's like,
but he just poked the bear. He just poked the bear. He just put every one of those companies on high alert and said, "Get your AI shit together."
Get it together.
And while I love Corel, I wish they did more development in that area. They tend to not play around as much as as much as Adobe does. You know what I mean? But I wish they would integrate something a little bit more futuristic like that. But I don't foresee that anytime soon.
Yeah, and for the work that you guys do, especially like on the fabrication side, it's Hey, like I wouldn't trust the AI enough to like maybe give you a concept to like look at and design off of, but it's still too much of an estimate or a guess on everything.
Knowing how long it took CorelDRAW to come up with a Mac version after saying that they would never have a Mac version, I'm pretty sure that's like 20 years away.
Sure. So the one last final thing, and this is one of the reasons, Bryant, why I reached out to you from the last automation, and we didn't really talk about automation, although we talked about AI, but I just want to cover this piece because I think it's a pretty big game changer for a lot of organizations. And my company would probably kill me if I told you this, but bear with me for just a second. So one of the things that you guys complained about last time, and this is specific to interior signs, is having to type all the signage out, right?
Yeah.
Manually. You're wasting your time. Okay. So most of the time you have some sort of document, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word doc, something along those lines that tells you the messaging for those particular jobs. I'm not going to tell you the particular plugin, but there is a plugin for Corel that allows you to tie an Excel spreadsheet to very individual pieces of your drawing in Corel and have it type everything out for you automatically. So you don't have to typeset anything ever again.
We'll have to look that up and put it in the show notes, Pete.
Yeah.
So we can't get Adam killed, obviously, but
so basically you got 1,700 signs. You can basically make Excel spreadsheets by individual sign type, assign those specific messages to a type field in CorelDRAW, and then just click a button and it'll type out everything in the same font, the same height, the same message. You can even have it drop down a line if you want for those sign types that require a multi-line a drawing set. So that to us has basically saved a 3-person hiring for our design team from an efficiency standpoint.
Yeah, this is really nice. I didn't know those tools existed in CorelDRAW. Like I used to have when I would do booklets and things like that in the print shop. We had tools like InDesign, and there was a couple of other like specific built tools that would do variable data over all of those, but I didn't know they were never available in Illustrator, which is what I was in 90% of the time anyway.
Yeah, I mean you're on the right track as far as that's concerned. There's a particular plugin suite that is I believe fairly well known, and there's a particular tool within that plugin suite that allows you to do this, and it's a pretty big game changer.
Sweet.
Yep.
Adam, wow, man. Yeah. This has been a great episode. A good episode for Pete and I to get back in the saddle.
Sure.
We appreciate you coming on. What's the future for you guys? Like, what's the future for you? What's the future for Creative Designs?
Yeah, I mean, so we're
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we continue to grow. We are tracking to be 28% ahead of where we were this time last year. We are growing our national account side of the business as well. And, we continue to look to expand outside. We do business all over the United States, but we want to continue to expand from a shop standpoint outside of, all over the United States. And that's kind of where we're headed right now. As far as design is concerned, probably the next steps are that more design engineer position that I described earlier in the business, somebody that is doing more detail work. Right now, kind of it's spread across the whole entire design team, but having really a department that's dedicated to doing, fabrication level detail, and details. So those people that are on my regular design team that are more creative don't have to worry about those types of things anymore, and more utilizing things like AutoCAD and SolidWorks in our shop day to day.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, love that. Pete, any closing questions, arguments, comments?
You kind of took the wind from my sails there. This was a great episode to jump right back on the saddle here. Adam, I'm submitting my resume to your shop here today. Okay, I love
Okay.
what you guys got going on. I love that you're involved with some really interesting tools. Smart Sheets, I'm familiar with it. I think it's a great tool, a collaboration tool, team communication tool. Love that you have some automated in your alerts, notifications built in your system. I wish more and more people would take a page out of that book. But thank you again for jumping on here and giving our audience a little bit of a sneak peek into what their shops could eventually be by just learning a little bit about what you have got going on there at Creative Design. So just want to say thank you.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. That's a wrap.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. See ya.
That's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to give one final shout out to our sponsor, GCI Digital Printing, grand format printer to the trade. GCI is not your average print shop. They pride themselves on providing you a fast, stress-free experience when outsourcing. Their no excuses mindset means no matter the job, they'll have it done every time. No other vendor will go to the lengths that GCI does to ensure you're a satisfied customer. To hear more about their approach to business, hop back into the archives to episode 9, where the guys and I interview owner TJ Bedacht about top-tier customer experience. If you're looking for a high-quality trade printer for banners, mesh, coroplast, and more, TJ and his crew will small, GCI does them all. Check them out at printgci.com.
If you liked this episode, make sure you hit subscribe to get all the latest episodes. And check out our website, bettersignshop.com. Get free resources and helpful tools on growing your shop. Thanks for listening.